Hello and welcome. My name is Alan and we are back with more 2025-2026 state governments and officials. And in this video, which was meant to be Monday's video, we're looking at the state of New Hampshire. So yeah, let's hop into this here. New Hampshire, also known as the Granite State or the White Mountain State. There you get a look at where it sits in the U.S. Pretty close to the furthest northeast, although that title is claimed by Maine, which used to be part of New Hampshire. Anyway, its capital city is Concord, and its largest city is Manchester. Now, let's go ahead and look at description of the state here itself. State in the New England region of the northeastern U.S. that borders Massachusetts to the south, Vermont to its west, Maine and the Gulf of Maine itself to its east, and the Canadian province of Quebec to the north. Of the 50 U.S. states, it is the 7th smallest by land area and the 10th least populous, with only a population of 1,377,529 residents. As we said, Concord state capital, Manchester's most populous city. Its motto is "Live Free or Die," which reflects the role in the American Revolutionary War. And its nickname, the Granite State, refers to the extensive granite formations and quarries. And it is well known for holding the first primary in the United States presidential election cycle and its resulting influence on American electoral politics. Yeah, whenever primaries are held, it's going to be New Hampshire. That's the first primary. But yeah. New Hampshire. Let's go ahead and look at some information on its constitution. Okay. The state law. All statute laws must comply to the Constitution of New Hampshire, which became effective June 2nd, 1784, when it replaced the state's Constitution of 1776. It is divided into two parts, a Bill of Rights and a form of government, with the subsections known as articles. So, yeah. Such as subsection dealing with free speech and liberty of the press, cited as Part 1, Article 22, or Part 1, Article 22. But Part 1 deals with Bill of Rights. Article 2A, the bearing of arms. Article 7, state sovereignty. Article 10, right of revolution. Article 11, elections and elective franchises. Article 12A, eminent domain. Article 28A, unfunded mandates. Article 26, pensions. Which brings us to Part 2, the form of government. It talks about the General Court, House of Representatives, the Senate, executive power for the governor, the Executive Council, and then the other governmental positions, Secretary of State, Treasurer, so on. Talks about county treasurers, judiciary powers, clerks of court, encouragement of literature, trade, encouraging people to educate themselves, to uh, do trade, have business with others. So yeah. Oaths and subscriptions exclusion from offices. The uh, installment of appointed and elected states are discussed in the final bit there, and the method for the Constitution taking effect, it being road, and methods for proposing amendments. Method of amendment. Unlike the U.S. Constitution, in which amendments are set out beneath the main body, amendments to the New Hampshire Constitution change the text in place. Although a law book with annotations describes amendments to the text, the actual amendment is not included in a presentation of the Constitution. Only the text in the amendment revised it. So, yeah. Ratification. So 1776 looks like the first. 1783, a convention was set up. Which became effective in 1784 after it having been redrafted a number of times, handful of times there. And then in 1791, 72 amendments to the 1784 Constitution, submitted to the people a whole new document in February. Some people, although some sources falsely claim that it was a new Constitution, it wasn't. It was just a huge list of amendments. But yeah, that's a look at New Hampshire's Constitution. Two of them, the original and then the replacement Constitution, which is your current. Now, with that said, let's dig into the governments here. It is, of course, a Republican form of government modeled after the U.S. government. 3 branches: executive, legislative, judicial. The legislative is called the General Court, with a Senate and House of Representatives. Some places say Assembly. Some states just say Legislature. Apparently, New Hampshire, it's General Court. Which I think, was it Massachusetts that was like that? Which both Massachusetts and New Hampshire are original colonies. Okay. Anyway. But yeah. The state capital is Concord. During colonial times, it was Portsmouth, and then Exeter from 1775 to 1808. And nowadays it's Concord, New Hampshire. Governor's office, some other executive branch offices, and both legislative chambers are in the State House in Concord. And the Supreme Court for the state and other agencies are in Office Park on the other side of the Merrimack River. It is, of course, governed by the Constitution. Administrative rules. As authorized by statute, are collected by the New Hampshire Code of Administrative Rules. Okay. Looks like the first branch we are going to talk about is the legislative. The full body known as the New Hampshire General Court, with a House of Representatives and a Senate. And it is the fourth largest legislature in the English-speaking world, behind only the British Parliament, the United States Congress, and the Parliament of Canada, respectively. Because its House of Representatives is ridiculously large. Senate makes sense, you're a small state, 24 members. House of Representatives, 400. You're like one of the tiniest states, but you've got 400 members. Wow. Wow. The House was originally 87 members, each one representing 100 rateable polls. Despite this ratio being increased to one representative for 600 inhabitants, the House grew to 443 members. A 1942 constitutional amendment fixed the size at 375 to 400 members. And as of 2023, there is one representative for every 3,505 residents. For the U.S. Congress to have the same level of representation in the House, there would need to be 95,553 representatives. Yeah, it's a bit insane. Legislative seats are based on the decennial census. The problem of allocating 400 legislatures to 259 municipalities and ensuring equal representation is solved with flotarial districts. A city due more than 5 representatives, but not quite 6, might elect 5 representing the city itself and 1 more in a flotarial district that includes some neighboring towns. Legislators are paid $200 for their 2-year term, plus mileage, effectively making them volunteers. The only other remuneration is free use of toll roads and state-owned resorts. A 2007 survey found that nearly half of the members of the House are retired, with an average age over 60. It's alright if the majority of the state is in that same boat, but again, I feel the House of Representatives should represent the people. Because you want it to be a representative government. Basically looking like the makeup of the government. Let's jump over here to look at it a little bit more. It has a Senate President and House Speaker, so it doesn't look like the Lieutenant Governor is in charge of the Senate. We've seen both ways, so interesting. Your current Senate President is Sharon Carson, and your current House Speaker is Sherman Packard. It is, like we said, bicameral. Uh, 424 total seats, 24 senators, and 400 representatives. Yeah. Your senators currently have a makeup of a 2-to-1 count Republican to Democrat. 16 Republicans, 8 Democrats in the state Senate. The state House currently has 221 Republicans, 177 Democrats, 1 independent, and 1 vacant. So, yeah. The ratio is 1 Senate seat for every 16 and 2/3 House seats, making New Hampshire's ratio of upper house to lower house seats the largest in the country. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. It doesn't say how old they have to be or anything. I'm not seeing it in there. But yeah. Um, yeah. New Hampshire's legislature, the General Court. Now, let's go back to state government, which will bring us to executive, consisting of the governor and executive council, unusual, and the state agencies like the cabinet and stuff. The executive branch implements and enforces the laws of the state, and the governor is the supreme executive and is afforded the title of His or Her Excellency through the Constitution, though the Constitution only provides for His Excellency. The governor, your current governor, is Kelly Ayotte. The governor shares executive power with the executive council, which the governor himself or herself chairs. The governor and executive council must concur on state contracts over $5,000, high-level agency appointments, and pardons. The governor's veto power and command of the National Guard are not dependent on the executive council. The governor and the councilors are elected to 2-year terms. New Hampshire and Vermont are the only states that still elect governors to 2-year terms. The rest are 4, rather than 4-year terms. Agency appointments are generally for terms of 4 or 5 years, which means the New Hampshire governor is unable to form a new cabinet when first taking office. New Hampshire does not have a lieutenant governor as most states do. Remember when I kind of started this, I was like, I know some states elect a lieutenant governor, some states don't. New Hampshire doesn't have one, period. Senate President serves as acting governor when the governor is out of state or otherwise unable to perform the duties of office. After Senate President, the Speaker of the House, then Secretary of State and State Treasurer are the next in line to serve as acting governor. But Secretary of State and State Treasurer are not elected by the people, they are elected by the legislature. So yeah. It's interesting. With that, There's Governor Kelly Ayotte. And then your Executive Council. Remember, these are elected as well. So it is divided into the 5 districts. And Ayotte meets with them on certain things. But District 1, Councilor Joseph D. Kinney. District 2, Karen Leott Hill. District 3, Janet Stevens. District 4, John Stephen. And District 5, David K. Willer. So that's a look at the Executive Council. There is a type of cabinet. They call them just state government agencies. But finding exactly which ones to list, it's kind of sloppy. But I will post these links in the description box as usual. But yeah, now let's take a look at governor. As we said, current Kelly Ayotte. Now let's look at the list of governors. Since it was first a state, because it's one of the original colonies. It didn't start out as a territory. Yeah, New Hampshire, one of the original 13 colonies, was admitted as a state on June 21st, 1788. President, office of president, which is what they call governor, was created in the 1784 Constitution and then renamed governor in 1792. They served 1-year terms until 1877 formed an amendment to where they are 2 years, which we talked about earlier. There have never been any term limits for the office. No lieutenant governor. So, yeah. But your first governor of the state, which he didn't stay in very long, almost a year, Mashich Weir. Number 2, John Langdon. That's a name I have heard of before. Continental hero, founding father. Yeah. Signed the U.S. Constitution and one of the first 2 U.S. senators for the state of New Hampshire. I've never heard much of Mashich Weir or Weir. Farmer, lawyer, statesman. Often called the father of New Hampshire. So, interesting. But yeah, I'd heard of Langdon. Sullivan, I think I've heard of as well. Continental Army officer, politician, and judge, serving in the American Revolutionary War, and participated in a number of key conflicts, most notably was part of George Washington's crossing of the Delaware River. So yeah, and Langdon again. They've got him as 2 again instead of 4, so. Anyway, John Pickering again, founding father. I think he was among the list of early executive branch. He served in, I'm wanting to say, Washington or Adams presidency as a member of the cabinet. I can't remember one. But yeah, he was pretty high up there. He was often in those levels. John Sullivan again. Josiah Bartlett. Signatory to the Declaration of Independence and the Articles of Confederation. And a member of the convention which framed the Constitution. So again, pretty important in history. John Taylor Gilman, not somebody I'm very familiar with. Statesman, shipbuilder, farmer. So he was one who stayed more in the background. John Langdon a third time. Jeremiah Smith. Langdon a fourth. Wow. Wow. William Plummer. Here's John Taylor Gilman for a second time. William Plummer a second time. Samuel Bell. Levi Woodbury. Name I've heard before. Yeah. Associate Justice on the U.S. Supreme Court. I thought I'd heard the name. 9th Governor of New Hampshire and was a U.S. Senator probably for the state of New Hampshire. Samuel Bell, don't know much about him. U.S. Senator for New Hampshire. Then David L. Morrell. And we're just early into the 1800s at that point when we hit number 10. There's John Bell, not Samuel Bell. Benjamin Pierce, Matthew Harvey. Okay, it gets a little regular now. They don't have all the guys over and over and over, but yeah. Langdon, 4 times. He had a partial term his last time. A full term there. A partial term there. He resigned. And a partial term there. Sullivan with a partial term. 2-year term. So they weren't really partial terms because in the beginning they were all 1-year terms, if we remember right. So yeah, wow. 1-year term, 1-year term. Two times. 1-year term, though he resigned because he didn't finish out 1789. He wasn't in there long at all. Lost election. John Sullivan came back for a year. Josiah Bartlett, 4 years. So 4 straight terms. Gilman, he was in there for quite a while. 11 terms in a row, looks like. Then John Langdon again, 4 terms in a row. 1 term for Jeremiah Smith, 2 terms for Langdon. So yeah, if you want to connect New Hampshire with the Founding Father, John Langdon. Anyway, with that, let's look at the courts. The state's highest and so appellate court, so they don't have a court of appeals, is the New Hampshire Supreme Court. Chief Justice is head of the judiciary, with other justices of the Supreme Court oversees the judicial branch. New Hampshire has 3 additional courts and 1 division. Superior Court, Court of General Jurisdiction, and the only court that holds jury trials in civil and criminal cases, probate court jurisdiction over trust wills, estates and adoptions, termination of parental rights, name changes, guardianship, or incapacitated persons, guardianship of minors, partition of property, and involuntary admissions. The district court hears cases involving families, juveniles, minor crimes, and violations of civil matters under 25,000, and the family division has jurisdiction over divorce, child custody, child support, domestic violence, guardianship of minors, termination of parental rights, abuse, neglect, children in need of services, juvenile delinquency, and some adoptions. So that's a look at the judiciary itself. See if it just shows the list here. With that, let's start off with the New Hampshire Supreme Court. You can only serve until age 70. 5 positions. There's a Chief Justice, and then you have Associate Justices. Let's see. Chief Justice and 4 Associate Justices are appointed by the Governor and Executive Council to serve during good behavior until retirement at the age of 70. Senior member of the court is able to specially assign lower court judges as well as retired justices to fill vacancies on the court. Has administrative authority over the state's judicial system and has both mandatory and discretionary appellate jurisdiction. So yeah, there is no court of appeals. It's if you're going to appeal up to the top, Supreme Court of New Hampshire. But of course, you can take it federally and go Supreme Court of the United States. History. Jurisdiction. List of cases. Yeah, the Supreme Court has jurisdiction to review appeals from the state trial courts and from many state administrative agencies. For many years, the court did not accept every appeal from the lower courts. In 2003, it only accepted 40% of the appeals, and in 2004, instituted mandatory appeals on the final decisions on the merits from the family division, district, probate, and superior courts under Supreme Court Rule 7. So yeah. Conditions which make the aforementioned appeals discretionary are a post-conviction review proceeding, a proceeding involving the collateral challenge to a conviction or sentence, a sentence modification or suspension proceeding, an imposition of sentence proceeding, parole revocation proceeding or a probation revocation proceeding. September 7th, 2005, Supreme Court adopted a temporary addition to the exceptions of mandatory appeals, adding appeals from a final decision on the merits issued in a landlord/tenant action or in a possessory action, both under RSA Chapter 540. Administrative appeals, interlocutory appeals and interlocutory transfers, and certain limited appeals from the decisions of the trial courts are also discretionary appeals. Court also has original jurisdiction to issue writs of certiorari, prohibition, habeas corpus, and other writs, which the courts has discretion to decide which cases to hear. So yeah. It has a 3 judges expedited summary procedure to reduce cases requiring oral arguments. The panel consists of 3 justices who hear shortened arguments of cases containing less precedential value. The unanimous judgment of all 3 justices is necessary for the panel to issue an order binding only the present case. It contains no precedential value. A split decision of the panel will cause a case to be rescheduled for oral arguments in front of all the Supreme Court justices, all 5 of them. Your current Chief Justice is Gordon J. MacDonald. Senior Associate Justice Anna Hance Marconi. And your other Associate Justices are Patrick E. Donovan, Melissa Beth Countaway, and Brian Gold. So yeah, those are you look at your Supreme Court for New Hampshire. Next up would be the Superior Court, I believe. Yep. Statewide Court of General Jurisdiction, which provides jury trials in civil criminal cases. 11 locations of the Superior Court, 1 for each county and 2 in Hillsborough County. Has jurisdiction on the following matters: negligence, contracts, real property rights, and other civil matters, with a minimum claim of $1,500 in damages in which either party requests a trial by jury, and has exclusive jurisdiction over cases in which the damage claims exceeds $25,000. Divorce, child custody and support, and domestic violence. The Superior Court and District Court share jurisdiction over domestic violence cases. Felonies, major crimes such as drugs, burglary, theft, and aggravated felonious assault, sexual assault. Misdemeanor appeals from the District Court. So the District Court on certain cases can be appealed to the Superior Court. The Superior Court also has exclusive jurisdiction over petitions for injunctive relief in which parties seek a court order to block actions such as appeals from zoning and planning board decisions, disputes over title to real estate, and petitions to enforce contracts. All other cases which are not the jurisdiction of the other courts. The Superior Court has specialized business and commercial court program called the Business and Commercial Dispute Docket. So, business court. We've seen a number of states with similar stuff, so yeah. All counties have one courthouse except for Hillsborough County, which has two. And those are one located in Manchester, which is called Hillsborough Superior Court North, and the other in Nashua called Hillsborough Superior Court South. All judicial officers are nominated and appointed by the governor and executive council. All nominations shall be made at least 3 days prior to such appointment, and no such appointment shall take place unless a majority of the council agrees. Hold office during good behavior, and must retire at the age of 70. Justice is appointed to a 5-year term and is not prohibited from being reappointed to another term. So, yeah. That's the Chief Justice. So. Didn't they? I was looking at where they had a list, is what it looks like earlier. Somewhere, I thought I saw it. I don't see the list of justices on the Superior Court. But that's probably going to be a lot of them anyway, because there were 11 locations. So, anyway, that brings us down to the Circuit Court District Division, or New Hampshire District Court, also known as the Community Court of New Hampshire, made up of one circuit for each county, and is located in 36 cities and towns. Each district division has jurisdiction over juvenile matters, domestic violence cases, violation and misdemeanor level offenses, small claims, landlord-tenant issues, and other civil cases. Upon the creation of district courts, municipal courts apparently were abolished. And then in 2011 they created the probate courts and family division. Misdemeanor, criminal offenses, civil cases with the damages which the damage claimed, including real estate titles, not exceeding $1,500. Court shares jurisdiction with the Superior Court over civil actions and damages, in which the damages claimed, excluding real estate titles, do not exceed $25,000. This ceiling can be increased to $50,000 as permitted by the state Supreme Court. And the court shares jurisdiction over domestic violence cases with the Superior Court. So it is lesser, but it shares a little bit in common. 36 courts, 34 divisions. District court would be within 20 miles of the inhabitants of each district. 19 full-time judges and 50 part-time judges. Again, the judges, justices are appointed by governor and executive council. So yeah, district courts. That brings us down to the family division, which full name, New Hampshire Judicial Branch Family Division. 10 courts, 3 counties in New Hampshire that deal with matters affecting families. And here cases involving divorce, parenting disputes, child support, domestic violence, guardianships, termination of parental rights, abuse and neglect cases, children in need of supervision, delinquencies, and some adoptions. Pretty open and shut there. And finally, the probate court. Jurisdiction over trust, wills and estates, adoptions, termination of parental rights, name changes, guardianship of incapacitated persons or of minors, partition of property, and involuntary admissions. Each of the 10 counties has a probate court. So yeah. There's a handful of counties with full-time judges for the probate court: Belknap, Hillsborough, Merrimack, Rockingham, and Stratford, whereas the rest of the counties have part-time judges. So yeah. But that's a look at the judiciary, and in whole, a look at the state of New Hampshire. But with that, we'll go ahead and end the video here. So, as always, educate thyself, think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. I'll be putting my links and sources in the description box below the video. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.